I got a special guest with me, y'all. Her name is Makeda, and she wrote to me and asked me a question about being traumatized. And I wanted her to know that trauma has many faces. Now, Makeda, when you said that you were traumatized, tell me what you were feeling.
When I said I was traumatized, I felt like the feelings, the emotions, continue to resurface over and over again.
Okay, so you're saying whenever somebody do something to you, or whatever was done to you at that time, every time you are, is it every time you're around this person, or is it every time?
It's like triggers.
Okay. And when you say triggers, and we know triggers are very important in our lives. We have things that'll trigger us to get a headache. A certain smell can remind you of something or someone. So what actually triggers you?
Well, I'm a self-reflector, so I know I do have abandonment issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm okay with it because, I'm a work in progress, and I always say that we're students of life. So when I feel like someone's not being consistent,
right,
it triggers me to make me feel like, hey, I take it the next step further. Like, is the person going to leave me? And that's what triggers me.
Right. So now I've also known things to happen to people, whether it's them being raped or beaten or abandoned, or just going through emotional turmoil with a friend, family member, boyfriend, husband, and even a child. Now, we say our children don't forget anything. Is your trauma from your childhood, most of it, or has it progressed as you aged?
Yes, ma'am. So my trauma, it initially started with the childhood. With abandonment issues with the dad and the mother, because we know that some women can be, I call them, or men also, but some people, women in particular, use children as pawns, and it can be petty betties, as I name them.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Oh, there's some petty betties out there, y'all.
Yes, ma'am. So that started with my dad and my mom, and my dad did not want to see me, did not want me to be around that. Every time he comes around, it'll be fights, arguments, trauma, as you say.
Right.
So he backed away. I healed from that. I'm still healing from that. But then my personal life, partners that I attracted, they had whatever traumas they had.
Okay, that's what I'm about to try to explain to you. That anything that you deal with in your life, if it's something that's rooted, every time you smell that smell, every time you see that person, every time you hear that voice, you're going to get them like butterflies. You know that tension is there. And it can bring on anxiety. I know about anxiety all too well. I suffer from anxiety. That's a very serious issue, which these triggers constantly bring on the turmoil that you felt at that particular time when that particular instance went on. And with you in your relationship, the same thing that triggered you with your parents triggers you in your relationship. It's things that you think about, and or maybe you could tell me, is it things that you think about when you and your partner go through things that you don't want to fight or bring anything up because it reminds you of your dad?
Well, it's not really remind my dad because I never really remembered. It's just the feeling of the dad being void and not there.
Okay.
So it's not that something the dad did.
Mm-hmm.
Well, indirectly it is, but it's not like that. It's more of the void of not the dad not being there. For whatever reason it may have been, because I was a child, obviously, so I didn't really fully comprehend. But it's more so the dad not being there. And then that person not being there. Meaning...
absent parent, absent lover, absent time, no quality time. No.
So sorry to interrupt. Let me break it down to you. So for instance, like the dad, he wasn't there, right? So I tried to, I guess, overcompensate and not be like the mother. Okay. So I try to be extra understanding, extra communicative, if that's the word. Is that it? To communicate with that person so that my children... And I want to be that petty Betty for my children so they want to experience what I experienced. Right. But then that person with their own traumas kind of took it for granted that I'm trying to be that person that I didn't want to, try not to be that mom. Or my children experience what I experienced. Right. So it's kind of like a catch-22.
So with that entail that you feeling that way and not wanting to be that petty Betty, let me give you kudos for that.
Thank you.
Okay. Not wanting to be that petty Betty, did you feel yourself allowing things to happen that... Did you feel you could control it?
Control?
The anxiousness, the feeling that brought it on. Can you control that feeling? When you was facing something, or did you talk to your mate about it?
Yes, I did, but like I said, everyone has their traumas, right? So I don't know what that person's went through. I don't know that person's mindset. They could be a narcissist. You don't know until you kind of are there and in it.
Yes, and we know that they're very demanding people. They focus on their appearance and what everything looks like to everybody else.
Yes, ma'am.
So those type of men are quick to say, don't tell my business. Don't put my business in the street. Because they want people to think that they're doing one thing when actuality is that they're doing something else. Yes. So when it comes down to you feeling that trauma, did it ever bring a rage up where you attack? Is it an act, an impulse, impulse to act, or something that you know it's coming, so you walk away?
So I am into the universe, the sun and the moon. So I have a lot of water in my chart. So I am a fiery person on the surface, but I have a lot of water in my chart. So it more so made me sad initially. Okay. But then that fire comes. It's like, hey, like, I'll be sad. Right. So now it's going to bring that fire. Right. So you got a lot of steam and you got a lot of heat.
So now when you feel that coming on, that's after the let it ride.
Right. Initial sadness, correct.
We don't want to be on that level, especially as women, where we are in something that brings us stress, that brings us turmoil, that bring havoc in our lives, when, in other words, you can just cut that person off. Cut them off, but then that'll bring us to things like soul ties. What you think? What you think about soul ties?
Well, I know that we are just energy, and I know that it's real, and it's very legitimate, yes.
Yes, it is. It is. And if there's ever a time that I could speak on it, just knowing that you have a connection with somebody and that you can't break that connection. How does that traumatizes you?
Correct.
You can't break away from somebody and you know this person ain't no good for you. This person is out to do you all the harm, but yet you can't let go. Have you ever been in a situation like that?
I have, and I've done the work, and I've broken away. But at the end of the day, when you put things in perspective, you just, I guess there's always that hope and that wish that we can come to understanding. But then you still have to love yourself ultimately and let it be what it is.
That's true. That's true. Because without that inner love, without that inner peace, just knowing somebody's out there that brings this on for you, it's best to cut the ties. It's best to cut the ties, or there's constant turmoil in your life. And then to avoid those things, the best thing is for you to focus on you. So when you knew that this thing was happening, did you try to inform him of exactly how you felt?
Yes, but like I said, you deal with people and you don't know what they necessarily been through. People put on facades and masks.
Right,
of course.
right.
Hey, I met you today. You're beautiful. You're handsome. I'm going to show you my best. People don't usually show you, so I don't know. I did not know that. Like, you don't know.
And so that devil reared his head after a while.
Of course.
Yeah, because they all do. They all do. We find ourselves in situations where we can't control what's happening at the time, and then you would say, what was my warning signs? What was it that had me trusting and believing so hard, and then did I miss something? Was I so excited that I missed something? And see, those are the things that we have to question ourselves about. And it's sad, but men play so many games with us today that we have to protect ourselves from every aspect of hellism from them. Because they coming at you with everything they got in the beginning. They loving you and all that loving all up on you. And then
you're gaslighting.
Yeah, it's gone. It's gone.
Can I say one thing?
Sure.
I don't want to, I'm a female, so obviously I understand why you said men. But now the women, we have some women now who basically play that role as well.
Oh, yes, they do.
Men.
Let me explain why I said what I said. Because we are two women talking.
Right.
But we also have, like you said, you ain't no petty Betty. So with you not being a petty Betty, we know that we wasn't talking about us. You understand? So I just went on to say the men, because of the men that, we've had in our lives. But trauma can come, people, in so many forms. Trauma can be from childhood. Trauma can be from a relationship, your parents. Some children have been put in closets. Some children have been put in corners. And every time they see a corner, they do something to them. Some people have been in relationships where this man might have slapped them, and the next man may reach for their face to love them or hug them, and she jumped. Trauma comes in many faces. Trauma don't have to be from just somebody you love. Trauma can be from somebody that you had an encounter with, that the minute you see this again, you be like, oh, okay, when you see bullshit, you run, right? You be like, oh, no, I done seen this before. This done happened to me before, and I'm getting away from this right now because I already know what it's about to be. We see that too. And with me being here 52 years, baby, I have seen it. Trust me, I have seen it. So is there anything else that you would like me to know? Something that I can focus on later with you, and because you said you wanted to see me privately, and I appreciate you coming on with me tonight and sharing your story, because a lot of women go through things that they don't even recognize what it is. And because, when you have trauma in your life, trauma is something that can make you hide behind yourself. And tonight you don't look like you hiding, girl.
Well, I put the work in, so it ain't gonna hold me down too long.
I know that's right. I know that's right.
All I do want to say is that I appreciate you taking the time out for me. Mm-hmm. And also, I think that like I said, we are all students of life.
Yes.
And we can learn from each other.
Yes.
And I know, especially with melanated divines, melanated people, that we like to, I know one of your episodes you probably discussed, I'm sure, about, because people don't like to talk about counseling, especially in the Black community.
Right. That is so true.
So I just feel like we have to do that. Mm-hmm. And it's not like we just need to eliminate the stigmatisms. And we ultimately are spiritual beings.
Yes.
We're spiritual, and we're just energy. And we're just always a work in progress. So the work never ends. The work never ends.
It never stops. And if at all, any time that you want to hit me up, let me know what you think, what you feeling. Is there something that you would want me to discuss? Is this something that you may want to come on and discuss with me? Do me a favor, hit the like, subscribe, ring that bell, and we'll be back with you. Good night.